Hi everyone, I'm Courtney Thornell. Today we're diving into a big topic that's been making news in the real estate world, the recent National Association of Realtors, or NAR, or NAR Settlement, which went into effect on August 17th. Now, whether you're thinking of buying or selling a home, this could impact you. So what exactly is this NAR settlement and why does it matter to you? Well, in a nutshell, NAR settled a major lawsuit that challenged the way real estate agent commissions have traditionally been handled. The lawsuit claimed that this setup violated antitrust laws, basically laws that were designed to keep competition fair and prices reasonable. This lawsuit argued that the system was unfair and outdated, particularly how sellers were typically responsible for paying both their agent and the buyer's agent commissions. This settlement is changing things, and if you're buying or selling a home, you need to know how it could impact you. Now, the core issue in this lawsuit was about fairness and transparency. In many real estate transactions, sellers paid both their own agent and the buyer's agent. It wasn't previously required, but it was usually standard practice. And it was argued that it wasn't clear to the buyers how much their agent was getting paid, and sellers were footing the bill for both agents, sometimes without much room for negotiation. So after a lengthy battle, NAR finally decided to settle. So part of the settlement is that the buyer's agent commission that was being offered by the seller can no longer be listed on the multiple listing service, or MLS. Now, the MLS is a database that contains other real estate agents' listings that are for sale in the area. Now, the removal of being able to advertise commissions on the MLS was in part due to the fact that some agents wouldn't show their buyers, or they would steer their buyers away from a property if there was no commission being offered, or if it was lower than the typical commission being offered. Now, by doing this, the agent wasn't acting in the best interest of their client. With the settlement, the buyer's agents now won't know if the seller is offering to pay their commission or not. So let's start by talking about home sellers. If you're selling a home, the biggest change you might notice is that you could have more flexibility in negotiating commission costs. In the past, it was standard practice for them to pay both their agent and the buyer's agent, which was called cooperation compensation. Standard commission was between 5 and 6%, which would be split between the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. But with the settlement, that tradition could be on its way out. As a seller, you might be able to negotiate who pays for what more effectively now. Commissions were always negotiable, but now there's more transparency, particularly for the buyer's agent. For sellers, this could lead to overall lower costs when selling your home. For example, if buyers are responsible for paying their agent's commission, that's one less expense for you as the seller. However, you should also be prepared for buyers to factor that cost into their offers. Buyers may potentially offer less for your home if they need to come out of pocket to cover their agent's fees. This can also influence how you price your home and negotiate with the buyers. Some sellers might choose to offer no commission to buyers' agents, which means buyers will need to negotiate directly with their agent on how much of a commission they want to pay. However, it's important to note that offering a commission to buyers' agents can still be beneficial. If you have a buyer who absolutely needs the seller to pay for the agent's commission, or be unable to purchase the home, if you aren't willing to, they could choose not to accept your counteroffer and move on to another property where the seller is covering that cost, which in turn could make selling your home take a little bit longer. It'll sit on the market longer. Now, let's talk about the home buyer side. If you're in the market for a new home, this settlement means there are some significant changes on how you work with your real estate agent. One major change coming out of this settlement is the requirement for written agreements between the buyers and their agents before you even start looking at homes. This means that before you step foot in the first showing, you'll need to sign an agreement with your real estate agent. Now there's a formal agreement between buyer and agent where previously the agreement was informal. This agreement will outline the services provided and the compensation for those services. Now, this change is important because it ensures transparency in the buying process. You'll know exactly what you're paying for and how much it will cost. One question is whether you can work with other agents after signing an agreement with one agent. And the answer is yes, but it depends on the terms of your agreement. Some agreements might be exclusive, meaning you are committed to working with that agent only, while others might allow some flexibility, especially if you're going into an open house and needing to sign an agreement. Now, because there will be different types of agreement, you need to make sure you fully read and understand the agreement that you sign. With the agreement you will be signing, you need to look at if you will be paying a flat fee or a percentage of the sales price. Make sure your agreement outlines your agent's responsibilities. Are you getting an agent who is offering full service? Or are you getting an agent who will show you the home and write the offer and then you're on your own for the rest of the transaction? So just be sure to read the fine print so you know exactly what you are getting into. Now, this makes it more important than ever to do your research before choosing a real estate agent. You'll want to make sure you're comfortable with the terms of the agreement and that you feel confident in the agent's ability to represent your interests. Okay, now how does this change work into closing costs? Now, as mentioned, typically real estate commissions range from 5 to 6% of the home sales price, and it's split between the buyers and sellers agents. Now, however, with the settlement, these commissions are now more negotiable. So in your offer, you could request to have the seller cover all or some of the costs of your agent's commission based on the percentage of what your buyer agent compensation agreement states. However, you need to budget for your agent's commission out of pocket if the seller isn't willing to cover any of the costs. Otherwise, you'll need to move on to another property if you need that in order to qualify. Now, you might be the one covering this fee, so you need to calculate your overall costs when buying this home. It's not just the down payment and closing costs anymore. You may also need to plan for your agent's fees as well, and this will increase the amount of cash you need to bring to the table on closing day. So, for example, if you're buying a $500,000 home, typically there would be $25,000 in commission fees if the seller was paying 5% commission split between both agents. Now, if the responsibility for paying the buyer's agent shifts to you, that can be an additional $12,500 or more that you need to account for in closing costs. Now, again, depending on the agreement you sign with your agent will determine what you could end up paying. Now, from your mortgage perspective, you cannot roll the financing of the agent compensation into the loan. If you do not have the funds to cover the compensation, your pre-approval will state that you are pre-approved for a certain amount contingent on the seller's covering the compensation of the buyer's agent. You may have to put in a few offers before finding a home where the seller will be willing to cover those costs, but hopefully not. Now, requesting compensation for your agent is different than requesting seller concessions in your offer. You can request the seller cover up to 3% of your buyer agent compensation. Seller's concessions can vary and go up to 9% depending on the loan program, the down payment, intended occupancy, and whatnot. And seller concessions can go towards closing costs, buying down your rate, or repairs that might be needed based on findings from your transaction. Now, thankfully, conventional and FHA are keeping seller concessions separate from agent commissions, so you can still try to take advantage of both. VA is keeping the two separate on a short-term basis. Now, your real estate agent will work with you on your offer and negotiate accordingly based on your needs, the condition of the property, the market value, and whatnot. Now, for both buyers and sellers, these NAR changes might also lead to new negotiating strategies. For example, buyers might need sellers to contribute towards their agent commission as part of the deal, or sellers might offer to cover a portion of the commission to make their listing home more attractive. It's all about finding the right balance to make sure the transaction action works for both sides. And if you're a buyer and you need the commission to be covered by the seller, make sure you have an agent that will work hard to negotiate that for you. Okay, so let's just do a quick recap. For sellers, the NAR settlement might give you more flexibility in negotiating commissions, but you should still be prepared for buyers to factor their own agent fees somehow into their offers. For buyers, you might need to budget your agent's commission out of pocket, which could affect your overall costs and closing budget. And for buyers, written agreements with the agents before home tours are now required. So choose your agent carefully and understand what you are agreeing to. Now, these changes could lead to new negotiation strategies, so just be ready to adapt and find creative solutions when you're buying or selling a home. Now, these are big changes and they are new. As a loan officer, we can't help you with the buyer-agent agreement or negotiate the compensation for you, but we can help you navigate these changes and understand how they will impact your overall budget. And the more you know, the better prepared you'll be to make some smart decisions when you are going into that purchase. So please feel free to reach out, though, if you have any questions or need to figure out what you're pre-approved for now that these new changes are coming into effect. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.